Okay, so if you've seen some of my other videos, I'm doing some reloading recently, and today I'm going to do an instructional video going from once fired case to a new reloaded bullet ready to go for the range or for your next hunting trip. Okay, so first thing we're going to cover are the supplies you're going to need. So most of the tools that I use for reloading I got from an RCBS starter kit that I got a couple years back. Now I have added a couple tools throughout the years, but they're more of a nice to have that help me with the reloading process. They're not necessarily what you need to get started. Now this is the starter kit, and I'll start going through specific tools that it comes with, as well as some others that I have, and as we go through the video you'll see how to use them. So one of the most integral pieces to my reloading process is my actual workbench. I built this about 1.5 years ago now. It allows me to keep everything nice and organized up on top here, and it also allows me to bolt my reloading press onto it. This is the RCBS Rebel one-stage press. Came with the starter kit. I like it. I haven't had any issues with it, as I make a lot of nice rounds throughout the years. Now as we go through, we do have a spear hand loading manual here. Pretty much has any information you need on the reloading process, safety precautions, things you want like that, as well as data for pretty much every type of round you could ever want to load. I've been referencing the 270 Winchester a lot recently, specifically the 130 grain, because it's the bullets that I've been using for reloading. Now over here we do have the case block. So this is just a nice block they use to keep everything organized, make sure you're not messing up throughout the process, make sure you're not actually doubling up on something, putting two charges of powder in a case or something else throughout the process. And this might seem kind of basic, but this is a cleaning rag. It's important to make sure you don't have any dirt or debris on the outside of your case, because it can scratch the inside of your dies and damage it for future times. Now this is one of those nice to haves I said about earlier. It's a rotary case cleaner that I got from RCBS. You can put your cases in it with the cleaning media. You can use steel pins, crushed walnut shells, and then it makes your cases nice and pretty, shiny, makes them almost like they're brand new again. Now the reloading process does take a lot of force to actually resize everything and punch out the primers. So the important part at the beginning is actually lubricating everything. So you got a little brush here, cleans out the inside as well. You can apply some lube to the inside. Your case lube pad, you just roll your case on it and you can get some lubrication on it, as well as whatever the case lube you want. You can use something like this or the actual RCBS case slick. Doesn't matter as long as it can actually lube up the case. Then you're going to want a pair of calipers. This is to make sure that your cases aren't getting too long. As you fire them throughout the years, it can actually lengthen the case where you might need to trim them up. Then you get your chamfer and deburring tool. You can use this to both trim it down to length and also make sure you don't have any rough edges around the top of your case, ensuring your bullet can actually seat properly. Then here I like to use this hand priming tool to put the new cases or new primers into my case. And lately I've been using CCI large rifle number 200 primers. Then you got your powder. I've been using Hodgdon 4350, and you got your powder funnels. This is for your small rifle calibers such as 223 or something small like that. This is for your large rifle calibers such as 30 caliber, 270, anything like that. And this is digital scale. They do have manual scales as well. I like the digital. It allows me a little bit more precision, as well as the actual powder pouring. And then we got the actual bullets. Lately I've been using these Hornady SSTs. I have used Nosler partitions in the past, but this is what I'm using right now. Seems like a pretty good bullet. I'm excited to use them this season and at the range next week. Then for any type of round you're going to do, you're going to need a full length die set. It comes with your resizing die, which also punches out the primer with this piece right here, and your bullet seating die. This ensures that you get your bullets at the right height and make sure it seats in nicely. This also came with the starter kit. We got a powder trickler as well as Uniflow powder measure. This just ensures that you get uniform powder charges in each round, making sure you get consistent shooting and precise shots. Then it might not seem like that important, but I like to keep reloading data. You can use the RCBS reloading card or just a piece of printer paper. But right now, for instance, my last load uses CCI 200 large rifle primers, Hodgdon 4350 with 54.3 grains, with the Hornady SST 130 grain bullets. I don't have a chronograph yet, so the velocity is empty, but hopefully I'll get one of those in the near future. Okay, so now that we've gone over the equipment, it's time to actually start the process. During this first step, we're going to make sure that the case is clean, and we're also going to check for any defects on it, especially up here around the neck of the case as well as around the mouth. Make sure there's no dings, dents, anything that would make it unsafe to actually shoot. This one looks pretty clean already, but I'm still going to take it through the rag, make sure there's nothing on there that could scratch my die before I actually go through the process of getting it lubricated. Okay, so now it's clean, ready to go on the lubrication. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to apply some lube to the actual pad. So take a couple sprays, make sure we got it all over. Then you're going to take the case, just with the palm of your hand, put it right there on it, and make sure you're just getting the body, this lower part. You don't want to get any on the shoulder, because it could actually cause some damage as you're putting it in the die. Now you're going to take your brush, just a little bit of lube on the brush. You're going to go on the inside. I like to go in a couple times, just make sure it's clean, make sure there's no debris in there, and just make sure the inside is actually lubricated up. Okay, now we're going to get the resizing die set, so I'm going to put this back in the case block for now. So starting off, we're going to take our shell holder, we're going to insert that into the bottom of the press there. That's where the actual case will sit in. And then we're going to take our resizing die. So the way I have it set up right now is I have this bracket. Then I'm going to start screwing in the resizing die. Gotta be careful, make sure you don't cross thread it. And we're actually, as we get close here, we're actually going to put the press up to the top, and we're going to screw down until we feel that it has hit the top of the press there. So once you can't go anymore with that, that's where you want to be. And we're actually going to lower this down. We're going to screw it down about another 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn. And then we're going to set it at this set screw right here. So just take your Allen wrench, screw it in, do one last check. Yep, and that'll be good for resizing these cases. Now that we have our resizing die set, we can go ahead and insert our lubricated case. We're going to insert it into the shell holder, and then we're going to put the press up to the top. As it gets up to the top, you're going to feel a little bit of force, and right here it should have pressed out your primer. So I recommend putting a little bucket underneath, and you're going to lower it down, and your case has been resized, and the primer has been punched out. So this is where your hand loading manuals can come in handy. For instance, right now I'm doing 270 Winchesters, so I need to make sure that all my cases are below 2.54 inches. It also has it down here in the table. Might be a little easier to read right here. Just make sure you can check and make sure everything is good to go before you actually get any powder or bullet loaded into it. So based on that, right now this case is actually a little bit long. So right now it's at 2.5415. So thankfully it's not that much, so I can actually get that trimmed down with just a chamfer and deburring tool. If it's any longer, I would actually have to get a case trimmer, which is about $200, and a tool that I do not have right now. As I said, because this one isn't too long, I can actually trim it with just the chamfer and deburring tool. So I'm going to start with getting that outer edge. Just a couple twists. Get the inner edge. Try and make sure I'm keeping as even of a twist as I can. Make sure I keep the actual bevel even on it. Okay, so now we're going to recheck our length. Now we're at 2.5395, so I'm going to go down a little bit more, just make sure we stay below that 2.54. Okay, now we're sitting at 2.5350. That's a good length, and we're ready to get it the rest of the way clean, get that primer pocket clean, and get it set up for powder. So as I said, we got to get that primer pocket clean, because right now it's got a lot of black soot from being fired. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our primer pocket cleaning brush, and we're just going to go into there and pretty much just scrape out all the soot that's in there. Make sure it's clean and good and ready for a new primer to be inserted into that pocket. Okay, so now we're looking pretty good. It's nice and clean. The outer edge is pretty clean. We're going to make sure the inside is clean, and then we're going to put a new primer in. Okay, now that we got our case prepped and ready to go to accept a new primer, we're going to take one single new primer, place it on our priming tray. We're going to close it up. And we're going to get it nestled down there, and it's right there at the bottom. Now we're going to take our hand loading tool, we're going to insert it there into the back. Make sure it's good and set. And then we're going to take the actual round and insert it in and get it ready to actually accept the new primer. Now that we got it nestled there in the bottom, we're going to push this slider up, and it should nestle into position there in the hand loading tool. So right here we see that the primer is down there set into place. So we're going to put this round back on, and then we're going to press up. Goes in pretty smoothly, and right there you have a new primer in your case. So the next step now is getting our powder charge set up. Okay, now that I got the new primer in the case, it's about time to get powder into it. So first thing we got to do is actually calibrate our scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold mode. It's going to go to calibrate. I'm going to press it one more time. We're going to put our calibration weight on there. If everything's good, we're going to see this pass pop up, and we're now at 50 grams. So now we're going to hit mode again to get it back to grains. And what I like to do is make sure that we are accounting for the weight of the actual pourer. So we see it's 136.2. Now we're going to hit tare. It's going to bring it down to 0. Now we got the scale set up and calibrated, we're ready to go over to the powder measure. Now that we got our scale calibrated, I'm going to take our actual pourer, and I'm going to get a charge of powder from the measure. Okay, now that's been dispensed. We're going to put it back on the scale, see where it's sitting. Right now it's a little bit heavy, we're about 54.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a couple pieces of powder back in to this trickler here, and now we're sitting about 54.1. So we're going to turn the trickler until we get a couple pieces falling in, and that brings it up to weight. So now that we got an accurate powder measure in, we're going to take our funnel or the charge, we're going to go ahead and pour it in. Sometimes it takes a little tap, make sure it's all in there. And now our powder charge is set. Now that the powder measure is set, it's almost time to insert the bullet. But to do that, we have to insert the bullet seating die. Now I already have it started here, just so you don't have to watch me flail around with the bracket here. But we're gonna screw it down. I do have a Sharpie mark here to help me guide myself. We're gonna just keep screwing it down until we get to that point there. Okay, so we're about there. And what we want to make sure is that we're not set too high, so we don't end up wasting our case with a good powder charge set. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take another case and we're going to test it out. As I said, we need to test it out. So we're going to take an empty case, no powder, no primer or anything, because we don't want to waste our resources. We are going to use a bullet. We're going to insert it in there, and we're going to bring the press up, and we're going to see if it's in the right position. So see right here, that's a little bit too deep. So we're actually going to take this and pull the die out a little bit. Okay, so we back the die out. We got another test piece, another test bullet, and we're going to just make sure that we backed it out enough that way we don't end up wasting that round that we prepped already. So we got it pressed up. And there we go. That's right around where we want to be. You can see we just right there at that crimp line. That's exactly where we want to have that set. So now we got it set. We're going to end up tightening up that set screw. And now we're ready to load an actual bullet. So now that we have everything set, we got it set in place. We're going to take our one that we have prepped all the powder into, insert it in the shell holder, put that bullet up on top, and now put the ram up to the top, bring it back down, and there we go. Perfect, beautiful hand-loaded round, ready for your next hunt in the range. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys at least learned a little bit of something about hand loading your own rounds. I really enjoy it. It's a great way to spend a couple hours on a rainy day. It gives you a little bit more freedom and customization into what you want to shoot at the range or on your next hunting trip. If you like this video, feel free to like it, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.